Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how you can invert negative 8mm film into a positive image using a Wolverine scanner. I have the Wolverine Pro, that's the model that can record in 1080p, but I'm sure this can work on the other models of Wolverines as well. So to get started, I have my film all threaded up and ready to go here on the scanner. Now the first thing you're going to want to do, and this is very important, is go into the settings, and under film type you're going to want to choose negative. You do want to scan this as the negative file rather than as a positive. That's one less step that you'd have to do on the import, so you want to make sure you scan as a negative. Now for exposure, I just leave this as 0. Some people have it at 0.5, some have it at -5. It really depends on your personal preference. For sharpness, I have the setting of medium. I know some people don't like any sharpening, so they would want it at low, but that's another area that you should do some experimentation and see what works best for you. So just a little note with the Wolverine scanner. Sometimes when you come out of a menu or you do any sort of adjustment to the film, it messes up the exposure and color balance, as you can see here. Compared to what it was before, the film is now very, very blue, and the color has changed. And if you scan it this way, it would get all messed up, and it would not be inverted properly, and it would just not work well. So when this kind of thing happens, you want to turn your scanner off and then turn it back on again. That will reset the exposure. I don't really know why this happens, but it can really, really mess up your scans. And so pretty much any time I make any sort of adjustment in the menu, I turn my Wolverine off and turn it back on. The settings are saved, but you'll have a better exposure. Alright, so now that we have our footage, I've brought it into Premiere Pro here, and you can see that it's playing and everything. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my footage, I'm going to drag it down and create a new sequence with the matching settings. Then I'm going to pick a frame that I think is a pretty representative frame for at least one particular section of the film. I'm going to go up into the program window here, and I'm going to click this button that looks a little bit like a camera. Now what this is going to do is this is going to bring up the settings to export this frame as a still image. I always choose PNG just because I want to make sure that I don't have any compression on this. And then you can browse and save the file in whatever location you want, and this will give you a perfect exact still of one particular frame of your piece. That's a good starting point. Now from there, you want to take that frame and open it in Photoshop. The first thing you want to do is you want to create a curves layer here. Now you want to go in here and you want to go into the drop down, and you're going to go into each color channel. And what you're going to do in this curves layer is you're going to adjust the different color channels until your footage looks the way it did in reality. So first I'm going to go into the red channel, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key. The Alt key will make your whole screen black except for any pixels that are peaking, which are basically hitting max value. And then what I do is I'm going to drag the slider here from the right all the way down until just a few of the pixels inside of the frame itself begin to peak. And I'm going to leave that as my red setting. The next thing I do is I'm going to go to the green channel. Now for the green and blue channels, you need to adjust the black value a little bit. And what that will let you do is that will take away that blue tint from the film. The blue tint, of course, is the opposite of the orange tint that negative film always comes with. So this is a very important step to make sure that your film has the right color balance and that your blacks are truly black. So I'm going to drag this slider to the right just a little bit until it looks like there's no more green in the black, until the black is basically only blue tinted. Then I'm going to go back up to the white slider. I'm going to hold down Alt again, drag that down until I get some peaking in the greens, and we'll let it go there. I'm going to go to the blue. Now I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to drag the black slider to the right until that balances out. And it looks like there's still a little bit of green left in here, but we'll get to that in a minute. And I'm going to hold down Alt again, drag down my white slider. I'm going to go back to green. I'm going to mess with this slider a little bit. So that's pretty good. Our blacks are almost black, but I see a little bit more blue in here. So I'm going to go back to my blue slider, increase that value a little bit. So now this looks pretty good, except you can probably see that some of our colors are still just a little bit off. So I'm going to go back into the green channel here, and I'm going to click around and start messing with the curve here. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Now it might be a little too blue, so let's go back here, and we're going to take some more blue out of it. I'm going to go back to green, And you can really spend as much time fine-tuning with this as you want. I mean, you can put in multiple points. You can spend a lot of time in here fine-tuning, because this is basically where you set the color balance of your overall footage. But once you get it somewhere that you like, you can close your window there. Now the next step is we're going to export what we've just done as a color lookup table. If the image that you imported isn't labeled as background over there in your layers tab, it might be labeled as layer 1. You just need to go into layer, new, and new background from layer. Now after that, you want to make sure to save your project. Sometimes I've had Premiere crash as I've tried to export color lookup tables. That might just be something with this version, but it's definitely a good idea to save this so you don't lose your work if something goes wrong. And you want to go to File, Export Color Lookup Table. Now in here, I don't really worry about the description. I've set my quality to high. That'll give us 64 grid points. Now the only format you need to export it in is cube. Then you hit OK, and you can type in the name for your file and click Save. And that'll save. All right, now I'm going to go back to Premiere here. I'm going to go back up to our footage, and I'm going to click on Color. Now this will bring up the Lumetri Color panel. And I'm going to go here over to Input LUT. I'm going to click the drop-down menu and click Browse, and then I'll go to the location where I saved that LUT I just created, and I'm going to click on it and click Open. And now if you look right now, already our footage is looking fantastic. What this has done is it has applied the curves adjustment that we just made in Photoshop, and it's applied it to this whole bit of footage. And now I might go in here and I might decide this footage still isn't quite exactly the way I want it, but that's okay. I can actually now go back into the Colors tab and use those Lumetri color adjustments to adjust things like the contrast or further mess with the white balance, and I can get that looking exactly the way I want it to look. So here's the before and after. This is the footage exactly as it came out of my scanner, and now this is it with the adjustment applied. I think you can get results that are surprisingly close to a professional scan with this method, especially considering that the footage is coming out of the Wolverine compressed. It's kind of a lossy file. Actually, that's the only thing I don't like about the Wolverine scanner, is that you can't tell it what format you want it to save it in. I'd love if you could save it, as a series of low compression JPEGs or even lossless PNGs. But I don't know, we'll have to hope that maybe Wolverine will come out with that scanner someday. In the meantime, one final thing to note, generally speaking, one adjustment won't work for the whole of your scanned film. Different sections of film might have slightly different looks. As you can see with this section from later on in the piece, it looks a little too dark. So basically all I would do for this is I would export one of these frames and then go back into Photoshop, repeat all the same steps, just making different adjustments in my curves layer, and then I would apply that to this particular section of film, and I would get another good looking inversion. Alright, so I hope you found this video helpful and it will help you with your scans on your Wolverine scanner. Thanks for watching.